Hello and welcome to another episode of Coach Toya Live. I'm your host, Coach Toya. I'm a credit and financial coach who helps aspiring homeowners get their credit scores together and their finances together as well, and credit scores up. With that being said, tonight we have a treat for you. One thing the pandemic has taught us is that things change. Things change at the drop of a hat. And everything is getting more and more expensive. And it's really time to really start thinking about what we're going to do to compete in this world now. I mean, things are getting more expensive. So we've got to look at ways that we can increase our incomes. And, we're just going to be talking about it tonight. I've got a great friend of mine, a personal friend of mine, to talk about some ways that we can level up and just compete a little bit better in this new world post pandemic, I guess you could say. So, Charlene, how are you?
I am fantastic. First of all, Toya, I want to say thank you for having me today, for having this conversation, and for creating this space. But I'm fantastic. I'm energized. I'm excited, and I'm ready to help some people level up their careers.
Nice. And all the technical issues we had before this just messed up everything. But you know what? It's okay. And we're going to keep it
Okay.
moving.
If nothing else, we learned from 2020, the word of the year was pivot, right?
Exactly. And it's like, how many times have I said my intro and all of a sudden I couldn't remember it? So I'm like, okay, hey,
Well,
it's
in
it's
fairness,
good.
though, we have been working on technical issues for almost an hour, so you're a little bit off.
Yes,
It's
I'm a
okay.
little
It's okay.
frazzled, a little
It's all
frazzled, but it's
right.
okay. It's okay.
And you know what? If you hadn't heard it before, you wouldn't know. So you're fine.
That's true.
Mhm.
So I always start by asking my guests because one thing that people know about Coach Toya is that I don't recommend any product that doesn't work, and I don't recommend anybody that I haven't tested. So, with that being said, before I tell my personal opinion of you, I'm going to ask you what makes you the qualified person on this topic? Why should we listen to you, Shar?
All right. Well, that's a good question. So first of all, let me tell you guys what I do, right? Because we're jumping in, we're talking about leveling up your career, and it's a great question. I think that with so many sources of information, you need to validate those sources. And so for me, I have been helping people grow and level up their careers for, boy, it's almost 20 years now. So I've been writing resumes for people for 25 years. Actually, also used to work at a career college and taught career services, professional development, both at the school and in the community. I've done thousands of interviews, have written hundreds, probably thousands of resumes, and have negotiated and helped people negotiate their salaries in several situations. So that is what I would say makes me the expert on it and the person to listen to. But then I've also personally grown my own career and leveled up several different times. So I'm the queen of recreating myself as it relates to careers and probably life. So that's what I have to say about
And having known you, I could say that that's I
that.
could say that that's true. I remember personally when I first met you, I thought, who is this chick and what is she talking about? She's thinking that she's going to be able to accomplish all this. I've been in banking for 15 years and I haven't done it. So, what do you say to people who say, you know what, you're just crazy? It can't work.
You know what? I have to tell you, you're not the only person that's thought that, right? I have had conversations with people at work all the time over the years, and I've
Yeah,
given them, because you know me, I'm fully transparent. Here's my goal. I want to get to here. I want to get to here. I want to do this, right?
yeah,
And people will look at me and say, you're crazy. That's not going to happen.
yeah.
So, what I say to those people is the first thing that you have to get out of your way is your mindset, right? What you believe happens, right? And it's not only about believing, but once you believe it and you can see it, then you can be intentional in putting together steps and plans and strategic actions that will take you there. Because one thing that I know is there's lots of money to be made, there are lots of promotions to be had. We just tend to not believe that it's available to us or that it can't happen that quickly. Both are
Absolutely.
not true.
What about because personally, and this is a conversation that we had when I first met you, the we talked about limiting beliefs,
Mhm.
and they I would say a lot of us got it honest because I remember talking about what I wanted to make. And I think at that point I was saying, I just want to make about $50,000 a year. And you're kind of like, what? As much experience as you have? And I
Right.
remember my family members going, well, how much is that an hour? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't really calculated how much is an hour because where I'm from, they get paid by the hour. So $10 an hour, maybe $12 an hour was the most I had ever seen. So it was hard for me to even think or fathom that I could make more than that. So how do you start with people who are saying, you know what, that is just not the type of person I am. I don't come from that type of family. I don't have the background that you have. And I'm just going to be happy with where I am.
Well, I would say this, right? So here's the thing, and I love that you asked that question because people see me now and they think you don't understand where I come from. I'm not you, Char. I'm not you. Here's
I
the
don't
thing,
have a
though.
private school education.
Well, I did have a private school education, but let's keep it real, right? I didn't
Yeah.
come from, I didn't even growing up in the North. Lots of people in the South go to college, right? That wasn't necessarily an expectation of mine. So when I was growing up, people said that if you grew up north of the Mason-Dixon line, you were 70% less likely to go to college, right? So where I grew up, the reality was, I remember being 7 years old, going to private schools, and telling my mom, I want to be an attorney when I grow up. And she said, get your head out of the clouds and hope to get a good state job. Right. So I didn't come from this family. My mom had a high school degree, a diploma. My dad has a fourth grade education. So I didn't come from a family that believed that you could make even six figures, right? It was about stability. It was get your head out of the clouds, stop dreaming. It was kind of like what people tell me at work, Char, you can't do that. Get a
Yeah.
good state job, right? Work there for 30 or 40 years and retire. So what I say to people is it's about what you want. There have been lots of people telling me my whole life that I cannot do things, right? But I wanted to do it. And so I figured out ways and I invested in myself. That's been a lot of different things. I've taken courses. I did a $3,000 personal development course. I hired a money coach to break my limiting beliefs on money, right? Because as much as I was saying I want to hit six figures, I couldn't hit six figures because at the time I didn't really believe that I was worth six figures. So I couldn't even go in and ask for it, right? So how
Right.
am I going to ask for it if I don't believe it? So what I say to people is it's first of all changing your own mind. You don't need to change everybody else's mind. You need to change your own mind. You need to believe that it's available to you. There are so many people in the world that have had humble beginnings and humble starts that have gone on to create amazing wealth for themselves that are corporation leaders, whether it's CEOs and top, 500 executives. There are lots of people that are doing it and they are living their dream because they are creative. So I say that, and I say the number one thing is changing your own mind and then investing in yourself and getting the tools that you need to take you there.
So what if you don't know? So
What
how do
if you
you
don't know
find out?
what? What part
You
don't you
don't
know?
know. Let's say I know that I'm dreaming, right? I want to make
Yep.
six figures. Okay.
Right?
Um, but I didn't go to college
Okay.
and let's see, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I don't even know what jobs pay six figures. What do you say to that person?
Well,
Because that's most of our community. They want six figures. They think it's a nice round number, but they have no idea the steps or the jobs or the plan to even get there, and they don't know where to start. They don't have anybody to speak with. They don't know anyone who's accomplished it. What do you do?
oh, that's a big question. So I think there are a lot of things to do. Making six figures comes and can come very easily in this world. One thing I say, if you want to make six figures, you are fortunate because you live in 2021 where there's a whole host of things. You don't necessarily need a degree. People will try to tell you you need a degree, but you don't need a degree to do that. What you need is skill, belief, and the tools to create. So I say if you don't know where you're at, and this is really cool too, because in my program, Level Up Your Career in 12 weeks, one of the things that we touch on, actually our starting point is who are you? What are you good at? What are you passionate about? What excites you? Not only does what excites you, but what motivates you to keep going, right? Because
Right.
we all want to make six figures, but if you make six figures and you hate your life, you wake up every morning and you don't want to go to work, what's the point? What's the
That's true.
point, right? Because then that six figures becomes a burden. So it's about really getting to know who you are, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what you can learn too, right? Because
Right.
where you start is not where you end. So what I'm good at now, like me, I'm personally really good. I'm very analytical. I'm very good at communicating. I'm very good at building relationships, right? And I'm really, really good at problem solving. So if you start from that basis, right, and then start looking at what roles are available to me or what things can I create from that, and then starting to have the conversations. If you don't have anyone in your circle, then that's another area of what we touch on in the course that is coming up on July 14th, actually. We talk about mentorship and sponsorship when you're in a corporation, right? But finding someone that has that skill set by joining maybe a professional organization or joining professional groups or finding someone in your community that is doing, who's in your network, who's doing what it is that you think that you're interested in doing. How can you align with them? How can you learn from them? How can you leverage your relationship so that you're valuable to them, but that they are also adding value to you?
Good.
So
That's
I know that was a long answer, but
But
it's
it's true, because that's the key. The key is, and I watched you do that, and I always wondered, why are you on every single board at the bank? Wouldn't you
I'm
have time to do all
networking.
that? And it's like, it when I saw the course you created, I'm like, doggone it, that makes sense. So
It's
it takes
networking,
work,
right?
and it's networking, right? A lot of
It
what
is.
I've accomplished in life has been someone saying, look, Latoya, I know her, I met her, and she did such and such for me before. So what do you think about this particular whatever? And so a lot of my clients come from word of mouth, or people, I've seen you do something, so I trust you. So it's very, very, very important.
It's so important. And you know what? I think I don't even like the word networking, honestly, because I think networking can be a dirty word, right? Because
Right.
people go into networking with, they're very awkward, right? They go into it like, what do you do? And it's like, it's almost like from a taker perspective. I want to know what
Right.
you do and how you can help me, right? But that's
Right.
really not networking. Networking is really, if I take away the word networking and call it relationship building, it's an entirely different thing. And I
Yep.
like relationship building. I hate networking. Because I can
That's
go
true.
and talk and become friendly with Toya and know what Toya's up to, what she does, and go over to this other person and add value to their lives. But then they add value to mine too. And then we're building that community and that network where we all get to learn from each other and grow together.
That's so true. Because you see that at different networking events, people are just, oh, here's my card. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep your card. I throw cards away.
No.
you
And
know?
you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. If you just want to put your card on me, I have no interest in getting to know you.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
going to be
true.
honest, because that means to me that you've come in there with a mission of, I'm going to hand out X number of cards. I'm not really building relationships, right?
Right.
I'm pushing these cards out to see if I can generate business or tell people who I am and what I do. But it's really not authentic. It's not really wanting to know who I am and how you can even service me if that's what you're trying to do. So give me
Yeah.
your card without asking me anything or without having a conversation. Understand, I'm
Yeah.
just
And
like,
people
okay,
can
thank you.
tell. People can tell genuine people. It comes across in just your aura. So they can cut
Yes,
the BS real quick.
they
So,
can. And you know what's interesting? It's hard because you can get into situations where you have people that are pretty pretentious, right? That are like, oh, what do you do? And it's not from a place of getting to know you and understanding you, but from judgment, right? And
right.
so I just say for those people, don't let those people turn you off from networking, right? Because you always are going to run into that group, right? Just understand. One of my favorite books is Four Agreements. Take nothing personal. That may not be the person that you want to bridge and build a relationship with, right? Because
Right.
they may not be interested in that, or they may not have that capacity in this season of their life, and that's okay. So find those people that are interested in connecting, that are interested in getting to know you, that you can actually with so that you can learn.
So let's talk about your course. You said
Okay.
it's a 12-week course. So what will we be learning in the course? And what made you create that course?
Wow. Okay. So I'll start with what made me create the course.
Okay.
So I'm always thinking about how I can give back to the world. I have a personal mission statement. It's to have a lasting impact on every person that I meet, right? And I really, really live that. I try to live that in my personal life. But I'm always trying to think of ways that I can add value to the community or what can I do. And what struck me of moving to Charlotte, and I think it was incredible, is moving here. I saw, okay, median income. I've been here 3 years. I saw median income coming in 55,000. I looked at the housing market and I was like, where are these people living, right? If they're making 55,000, where do they live? Because clearly you cannot make 55,000 and afford the Charlotte market as it was in 2018, and certainly not now. So then when I really drilled in and got to know that even for Black folks, it's even less. It's in the 30s, right? Median income.
Yeah.
I was really shocked, but I didn't understand still even then how much money there was to be made, right? So I remember I came here, I was reading the Charlotte Agenda every single day. And Bank of America had a newsletter section that they were doing. It was on budgeting. And every day they featured someone different. And it would be like these people in their 20s that were making $120,000, $130,000, right?
Right.
I assumed many of them were not people of color based on what I knew about our median income. And so then when I actually had a friend that I made here networking. I made a friend when I was moving here, didn't live here yet. And she was telling me based on my experience, what I should be making in the market. So I said, okay. And I moved here, had a job. Recruiters were calling me and they were offering me significantly less than what she was saying I should make. I found that to be interesting because I would go and I would meet with them and I would tell them exactly what she said, right? You should be making six figures at this level. And they would say, absolutely, absolutely, that's what you should be making. But then they would call me back and the jobs were $20, $30 less an hour. And I was like, there's a disconnect here. So what I realized very early on is, one, people don't know what they don't know. And if every recruiter is calling you and offering you a low rate, then you begin to believe that's what you're worth, right? In the market. And so I didn't believe that because, one, I already had a job and was coming from somewhere else and was making more than they were offering me. But then two, I had an inside connection that gave me visibility into the world of the banking world, right? And I knew what I should be making. So fast forward, I get the job where you and I started together. And as I'm working there, I'm starting to interview and help other contractors become a part of them. And I'm meeting people. Well, I first met you and you have all this experience and you were like, I want to make $50,000. And I was like, and then you said, I don't think I know anybody. And I was like, what? Right? You
and
remember?
This was Coach Toya. Before Coach Toya was Coach Toya.
Yeah, this is before Coach Toya was Coach Toya, right? This is years ago, remember? And it was like, and then when you said that, I was like, huh. But then I kept meeting people that came to work. And there was another gentleman that came to work there, and he had 18 years experience. He had an MBA and his goal was to make like 65,000. And I was like, okay, something's wrong with this picture. Something's wrong with this picture. And so then, in my personal life, I was making it my personal responsibility to level all these people up and get them to these places, right? But then recently, I negotiated the largest salary package of my lifetime, right? So I negotiated a six-figure package increase. And I'm like, you know what? And the whole time I'm in negotiations, I'm sharing this with people, right? And other people are leveling. My one friend jumped 2 pay grades. And then she's like, they offered me this increase. And she was like, I thought about you. And I was like, Char would say negotiate. And she's like, I negotiated. And she's like, I got more money. And I was like,
Right.
awesome. She's like, I didn't get this huge amount more, but I got what I asked for. And I was like, it's not about how much, right? It's about starting. Ask for
Right.
something and then get more, especially as it relates to women. Women are 70% less likely to negotiate their salaries. And the ones that do make $1 million more in their lifetime. So we have to ask. So that's kind of how it got started. And why I said, okay, I'm on a personal mission to level everybody up. If you will listen to me and get on board, we're going to level up because I believe there's enough for us all to win, and I want to see us all win. So the course is 12 weeks because there's so much content in the course, right? Like it's taking you way back to start at ground zero. Who are you? What do you know about yourself? We talked about that. Like, what are you passionate about? All of those things. Once you know who you are, then what is it that you want to do? Like, let's uncover things that are either what you're already doing and how you can level that up, or what you're not already doing, but you're good at and interested in, and how we can put you on the path towards that. But then it also goes into your mindset and your limiting beliefs. Like, what limiting beliefs do you have that are holding you back from growth? Right? Because we need to address those things and replace that belief system so that you can get there. When we talk about networking, we go into resume writing. And I personally don't believe in writing resumes for anyone anymore because a resume is now a living document. It's gone as the days of one and done. I can't do a customer service resume for you, and you can beat every applicant tracking system with that one resume. It doesn't happen, right? You need to be changing that resume for every single job that you're applying for, and there's skill to beating the applicant tracking system. If you don't know how to write your resume, or if you think you're just going to pay someone $300 to write a resume and you're going to have one that can get you the job, that's not true. You need to learn the skill to be able to do it yourself and modify it again and again. Then we're going to go through interviewing and really get in depth with interviewing and mock interviews and that sort of thing. And then we're going into negotiation. And negotiation is going to be a huge chunk of it. It's 3 weeks of the 12 weeks. And the reason it's 3 weeks of it is because you need to be able to negotiate. You need to know how to assess that package. You need to know how to look it up and see what you're worth in the market. And especially now that it's 2021 and so many people can work remote, you need to know what you're worth in your talent pool, not just in your local market, right? And how to ask for it. And then in how to ask for it, how do you counter a counter, right? Like my last negotiation took 7.5 weeks, right? But I got what I asked for, every single thing that I asked for, including the title change. And so it's possible. And then finally, we go into mentorship and sponsorship. Like, what's the difference between them? How you find mentors, how you get a sponsor, and so that you have everything that you need to be successful. And one thing I think is amazing about the course is once you learn it and you master it, right? You can apply it over and over and over to continue leveling your career. That's it. You're winning.
So I was the thing that came to mind when you were telling me about your negotiation, and I'm sure other people would probably think the same thing. First of all, I didn't know you could negotiate before I met you. So
lots of people don't know.
Right. And in the 3 years, I think I've gone up about 40,000 since I've met you in salary.
That makes me so happy. You know that.
It can only get better because now I have a little bit more confidence. When I was first meeting you and going through this, I was in a scarcity mindset. So my thing was I had gone through 2 years of being a contractor, not having a job, not having my bills paid, and just panicking. So when I got that offer, I didn't negotiate it the way that I should have. So a lot of people come from a scarcity mindset. But with that being said, I used to think that they could just not give me the job at all. They could rescind the offer. So let's talk about that. Is that possible? What are some of the things you've got to be mindful of when you're negotiating that salary increase?
So first things first, here's what you want to know up front. When you are in the interview process, if at any time, I always say the first person that speaks money loses. It's my thought, right? It's kind of like a game. So when they ask you, What are you looking for, right? You have to very skillfully respond to what you're entertaining and the ballpark. And you maybe not, you don't give a number. I am considering all fair offers that are aligned with my current position, with the position I'm applying for in the market. Right? Most of the time they'll come back and they'll say something like, well, this position is at 75,000. Is that something that works for you? Then you can say, well, what I'm actually interviewing for in the market, or what I'm seeing in the market, is more around the 86 mark. Is there flexibility? Because now they've given you the number, right? So you're kind of having that preliminary discussion, and they're already knowing that you're aware of the market, what's going on, and that you will be ready to negotiate. At that point, they may say, well, there is some flexibility. I don't know if it's as much as 86, but there is some flexibility. And you say, that's great. I'm interested, and there's flexibility, so we can have that conversation down the line. Should we get there? That's where you're at, right? Now, if you say that in the beginning and they come back and they give you an offer at 84, it's not really appropriate to negotiate it, right? Because you've already kind of given them the ballpark, and they're coming within the ballpark. Okay. So now you're like, okay, now you may be able, maybe you don't negotiate salary. Maybe you look at the vacation time and say, I realize that the PTO pool is all inclusive and there's only 2 weeks of that, right? So what are the opportunities for us adding an additional week? So you can still negotiate other things, but maybe you're not negotiating the salary. Right? But if you come back, if you guys have never had the salary conversation and they come to the end and they offer you something and you want to negotiate, number one, they're not going to rescind. They're not. They have the right to, but employers don't, because it's expected. Almost every, I can tell you, almost every race that I've interviewed outside of people of color negotiate. And okay, let's not even say people of color, Black folks. Negotiate. They'll ask, even at $12 an hour positions, they'll say, can I get $12.50? Right? They're asking to see, because the worst that can be said is we can't do that, right? And then you have the opportunity to say yes or no. So I think it's really important to know they're not going to rescind, not automatically. And if you run into the one company that does rescind, here's what I have to say to that. That means that you just dodged a bullet, because that company does not value the employees, and they don't value employees knowing what they're worth and having a voice to ask for it. So you've dodged a bullet. But I have not, in my experience, seen any company that does not negotiate or rescinds, and I've not heard of it. But I do know that, of course, they have the opportunity to do that. The times that they would likely rescind, though, is if you already said I'm in a ballpark and they come back in that ballpark and now you're not cooperative.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's what I have to say.
Just be mindful.
Just be mindful of that. I mean, if they're asking you up front and you're saying, 86 works for me, and then they come back and offer you 84 and you say, just kidding, I want 120.
I want 90.
or something, right? Then they're going to be like, right? Yeah. Because time is valuable. And if they're asking you up front, it's because they know that they have some pretty limited wiggle room in the negotiation, and they want to make sure that if you're that candidate, that it's going to fit.
Okay. Well, I think we have covered everything. Is there anything that we missed that you think is important?
I don't think there's anything that we missed. Of course, I love talking to you. We could keep talking on and on, but I would say I can't stress enough the importance of investing, right? I think people invest in themselves in many, many ways, especially as women, right? We get our hair done, we get our nails done, we get our eyebrows, lashes, all of this stuff. But then when there comes an opportunity to invest in our growth, like personal development, we're like, I can't do that. I'm financially strapped, or I'm this, or I'm that. And so what I would say is, really, nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you continue on the path that you're on, then the growth, you will have growth because that's natural in life. But to have those big leaps, to have those big jumps, you're going to have to take the time to pour into yourself and to invest in yourself like you would do with your hair care, your self-care, your gym membership, those kind of things. So I say plug into the right people, courses, coaches that can take you. That's what I say.
All right. Well, from one coach to the other, it has been a pleasure speaking with you, Shar. And I knew we
Absolutely.
were going to event. Who would have known we would have come together years later,
I know, right?
working in our passions? And because I would have never had the courage to even think about starting a podcast. I mean, when you met me 3 years ago, would you have ever thought?
You know what? I saw it in you. I did see it in you. So this makes sense to me, but I get how you say you wouldn't have saw it then.
No.
But I think it's
No,
great, and I'm so excited. I love following you on the journey and seeing what you're up to and how many people you're helping. It's amazing.
It's when you love what you do, it really does. It makes life a little bit more fulfilling,
Yes, and it makes it not feel like a task, right?
Right,
You
right,
enjoy.
right. When people call and say, look, I got that credit score, I just closed on my house. It's like, yes, one more Black person, that's a homeowner, because my preference is, well, I wouldn't say my preference, but my passion is my community, and anything that I can do to help, that's what I want to do. And I think that's the thing that we share, is that we both genuinely love our community. And so,
Absolutely. So let's level people up so they can afford
all
some of
right,
these houses out here and get some good
I
credit
know.
and
And it's
buy
time for me to
houses
level
and
up
build Black
again.
wealth.
After your story, it's time for me to level up again. Huh?
Let's do it. Well, see, but now you've got some of the tools. You've grown this amount. Now let's double it.
Hey, all right. Hey,
All
I
right.
would have said you were crazy before, but now it's like you rub off on people.
Good. I'm glad. I want us all. I'm telling you, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the day, especially in this market, when a recruiter will pick up the phone and call one of us and say something crazy like, "I'm going to give you $12 an hour." We say, "No, thank you. I already know. I know what I'm worth." And when
I'm
we
worth
start doing
15
that,
at least.
something, right? We got to know.
Yeah, we
And when
do.
we start doing that, we'll change the market, right? Because if they're picking up the phone, calling again and again and again, and people are saying no, they'll
You
up the
have to
salary.
increase it.
They
That's
have
right.
to. And they have wiggle room too. That's another thing. Ooh, that's one more thing. If you're a contractor and you are working for an agency, they have a spread. They have an opportunity to give you more money. And if you have been with them for a while, you have the opportunity on a long-term contract, you have the opportunity to go back and negotiate. So we'll talk more about that in another time. But it is possible. I just need you to know that.
All right. So if you don't, the one takeaway from this is ask. Know your
Ask.
worth. My grandmother always said, "You have not because you ask not."
That's right. Closed mouth don't get fed.
Don't
We
get
all
fed.
say it. It don't. And you know what? At some point in time, you're going to have to ask for what you want because we are not just being given. You know, I once had a boss,
No.
white woman, that said, "Charlene, I don't know how to manage you because you're very intentional with your career. And for me, someone's always tapped me on the shoulder and told me what's next." Well, that's not our luxury. We don't get
Right.
tapped and told what's next. And they're growing us. We have to figure it out and we have to ask. And if you can't get it where you're at, got to go somewhere else.
And we've got to ask. We've got to ask for help. And we've got to be willing to help each other too. Because I remember when I was in that same contracting position where we were at, and I'm at my lowest point, and I'm reaching out to professionals that look like me in certain positions, asking for help. And they're just like, they're afraid of putting their reputations on the line to help out someone else. So you have to, we have challenges, but you just got to keep plugging away.
And you know what? If they don't want to put their reputation on the line by vouching for you personally, okay, that's fine. But you help me gain the tools to grow my own career then, right? Tell me what I don't know. Help me figure out what I'm missing. Point me in the right direction, right? Maybe you don't want to co-sign with your name on it. That's fine. But point me in the right direction. How did you get to there? Just give me something. And then I can build
from there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure, Charlene. Let everybody know how to reach you and how to get involved with your course. When does it start? Next week?
Okay, so the course starts on July 14th. So
Okay,
right
mark
now,
your
if you
calendar.
are, and that's next Wednesday, so it's starting very soon. So you definitely want to be in contact with me. And so to find out more about the course, you're going to go to, I'm on Calendly. So you'll go to calendly.com, Charlene K. Ridley. You can schedule 15 minutes with me and we'll talk through where you are and what's available in the course. And just so you know, I'm open and honest and transparent. So if it's not something that's right for you, I'm not going to sell you something. Just like I wouldn't sell you one resume thinking you could get any job, I'm not going to sell you a course thinking it's good for you if it's not. So we'll talk through it. We'll see if it's a right fit. If it is, we'll welcome you into the course and we'll go from there. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Charlene Ridley. I'm on Instagram as 2 pages. So my one page is my coaching page that I'm just developing. So it's very new. So look for new content there. It's unpause_your_dreams, right?
Ooh, I like
And
that.
thank you. And then there's just Shar. It's JUSS_Shar, CHAR, because I'm just Shar. If you know me, and once you do know me, I'm just Shar.
All
It's
right.
thank you.
Well, I'm not sure where you guys are watching, but if you are watching, if you haven't, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. Um, and like, share, comment, all that good stuff. If you have any questions, definitely, and you didn't get a chance to put it in the chat, comment below, and Charlene will get to it because she can see it as well. We'll also post her information there as well. So
Absolutely.
until next time, see ya.
Thank you. See ya.